From KAMR Local 4 News, your local election headquarters, this is Politics Today.
Coming up, we're learning more about the Amarillo Fire Department trucks that could soon need to be replaced. And the city fills us in on what you need to know as they pack up and get ready to move to their new offices later this month. The City of Canyon hosting only their second bond election in city history. That's coming up in May with a $14 million bond proposal. Thanks for joining us, everyone. If passed, the general bond would be in effect for 20 years. It would increase property taxes by $88 on a $100,000 home. The plans include renovating the police department. City officials say that they can't interview suspects or witnesses properly right now. It also includes big renovations for the fire station. The bond also includes plans for a new animal shelter. City officials say it'll be a basic structure with heating, air conditioning, and 25 kennels. And all of this will help with the city's safety rating.
Every community has a community rating from the Insurance Service Organization. We went from a 2 down to a 4. And so that kind of pushed this in this direction to try to get us back. We have salvaged to get back to a 3. And doing these improvements along with going to 24/7 staffing will get us back to 2.
Price says for the average citizen that means lower insurance rates. Now, if passed, some of those bonds won't be issued immediately. They still need to design or finalize designs, but won't do that until the bond passes. City Hall is moving, which means changes to how the city is working right now. City Secretary Stephanie Coggins spoke to us about those changes and what people need to know over the next few weeks. Utility Billing and Vital Statistics departments making the move last week. They continue to do so this week. Both plan to be fully moved and operational this week over at the new City Hall.
We want to be very accessible to our public, and so we realize that it can be challenging during the transition from our current City Hall to our new City Hall. So if anyone does have questions or needs to know a department to go to, they're welcome to call the City Secretary's office.
New City Hall is located at 623 South Johnson. The grand opening will be held on February 25th. Several Amarillo Fire Department frontline fire trucks are reaching reserve status, meaning they're due to be replaced. Now AFD is looking to City Council to approve 6 frontline engines and 2 ladder trucks. Politics Today's Kaylee Hanna has the story.
Jason Love, AFD community educator, says the department currently has 22 frontline trucks and 7 or 8 reserve units. Love says a lot of those reserve trucks will be sold at city auctions.
And these trucks that are being replaced will move into that reserve status. So that if we do have a truck that goes down for maintenance or mechanical things or whatever, we have a truck that we just pull right out and goes right back into service, and we use it back on the front line.
According to Love, the department is working to get all the trucks on a 10-year replacement schedule. He says when AFD orders a truck, they won't receive it for 3 or 4 years.
We know, okay, in year 7, this truck's coming up for renewal, so we can start that build process so that we're not waiting on those trucks. We take them out, we run them hard, we put them back in the station, and we shut them down. And that's a lot of wear and tear on those motors. Our fleet department does a fantastic job keeping them on the streets, but it does age them relatively quickly.
According to Love, the new trucks will come with a 10-year bumper-to-bumper warranty.
It's also going to allow us, our mechanics who are already working on our trucks, to do that warranty work, and then the manufacturer is going to reimburse our guys for the labor costs, which is going to save taxpayer money because we're not having to pay that cost to a manufacturer or ship that truck off or anything like that. All that work can be done in-house, so it's going to save money in the long run.
In Amarillo, Kaylee Hanna, KAMR Local 4 News.
Love says a fully equipped frontline truck cost $1.8 million, while a standard ladder truck sets them back at about $2.5 million. He says purchasing the new trucks, that's going to be a much needed purchase to provide high quality service to citizens of Amarillo. Texas lawmakers have been debating changes to the Education Savings Account initiative this past week. Coming up, we'll take a look at the bill that was passed by senators and what happens next. Welcome back, friends. Texas parents one step closer to getting help from the state to pay for private school. Last week, the Texas Senate passed a bill to create education savings accounts. Senate Democrats unanimously opposed the bill. Some opponents believe the ESA bill does not do enough to help the state's most disadvantaged students. Politics Today's Dylan McKim spoke with the author of the bill and a former teacher who's raising concern.
I taught 3rd and I taught 5th grade.
Danielle Bryant is a former teacher and assistant principal at public schools.
I think we should be focusing on funding our public schools in the most robust way possible instead of pulling money towards more privatization.
And she's not a fan of Senate Bill 2 and its education savings accounts. One concern is the way SB 2 defines low-income families. The bill creates a priority for disabled students and families who make up to 500% of the poverty line. For a family of 4, that's a little more than $160,000. So a family of 4 who makes $160,000 a year has the same chance as a family of 4 who makes $50,000 a year.
If you asked a family whose total income was $50,000 if their lives would drastically change with $160,000 a year, they'd say yes. That is a life-changing amount of money difference.
Your bill has passed.
But the author of the bill, Senator Brandon Creighton, says the framework helps all families, including the middle class, who are struggling to make ends meet.
They certainly need education opportunities for their kids, and we didn't want to cut them off.
The House of Representatives has not filed its version of the bill yet. In 2023, the House introduced a bill that created a tiered structure, giving special education students top priority. After that, the bill categorized general education students categorized into 3 income levels. The lower the income, the higher the priority. If history repeats itself and the House files a similar bill, Senator Creighton says he's very open to consider income categorizations.
Same, we'll work out the details once we see them.
In Austin, I'm Dylan McKim.
Although the Texas Senate worked quickly to pass the education savings account bill, the House of Representatives still in the process of assigning committees. Once a version of the bill is filed in the House, we'll be sure to provide you an update on its framework. Water conservation, wildfire recovery, and what ag producers can expect from the new administration's trade policies. Coming up after this, those are just some of the topics we'll be covering as we speak with Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller. It is my privilege today to talk with Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, checking in from his ranch in Stephenville, Texas. Good afternoon, sir. I want to talk to you really just to start out. It's been almost a year since the Smokehouse Creek fire. The fire burned over 1 million acres. A lot of our farmers and ranchers up here on the High Plains impacted. What are you doing, and what are we currently doing to make sure that with everything else that's going on, that we don't forget those men and women?
Well, they're still in bad shape up there. Of course, we delivered over 30,000, coordinated over 30,000 round bales of hay. I raised over $1.5 million in fire relief. It was devastating. All in all, we had to either lost or had to put down about 25,000 head of cattle, 500 structures, houses and barns. Xcel Energy was the culprit. They admitted that their lines, started the fire, and they would compensate everybody. They paid a few people, but the problem is now they've lawyered up out of a fancy law firm in New York City, and those people up there still haven't been compensated for their losses. They've lost their house, their livestock. Many of them lost their barns. Hundreds of miles of fencing is gone, and they have gotten no relief. I really feel bad for them. I'm going to approach the legislature and see if they can't hold a hearing and get Xcel Energy down here and put their feet to the fire and see if we can't speed this process along a little bit. This is unacceptable.
Commissioner Miller, I know that you know personally some of those people impacted. We've talked about Andy Holloway and those people up there in the northeast corner of the Texas Panhandle. What would you guys say to them in terms of what the Ag Commissioner's doing, what Governor Abbott's doing, and to make sure that Texas has got their back?
Well, we're doing everything we possibly can. I even raised private money for our STAR Fund, State of Texas Agriculture Relief Fund. It's not taxpayer dollars. Like I said, we raised over $1 million for that. We get that back out to the farmers to help them buy T-post and wire. We'll pay half of whatever their rebuilding expenses are, but that's still a drop in the bucket of what they need to fully recover.
And we're coming up on what we're being told is a potentially another dangerous spring with some high winds, some dry land. Speaking of water, I know this is a legislative priority for Governor Abbott, talking about making the most of our water here in Texas. As you know, the High Plains, the Texas Panhandle, we rely on ag, and so we need that water. What is the state currently doing to make sure that not just our farmers and ranchers have access to that water, but we've got water for generations to come?
Well, finally, I've been the lone voice out here crying, we have a water crisis. We're out of water. And so finally the legislature is listening. And I'm so encouraged that we're going to get something done. The governor put it on his emergency legislation list, right at the top of the list where it should be. We're up to 30 million people now. We have still over 1,000 people every day moving into Texas, and they don't bring any water with them. So, it's really taxing on us. So we've got to, first thing we can do, most efficient, cost effective, is fix our infrastructure. Our cities, from the time they get their water till they deliver it, on average, lose 30% of it. We can't waste 30% of our water. We don't have it. We've got to embrace desal projects where those are feasible. We've got to do rainwater harvesting. We've got to change our thinking on stormwater drainage and capture that water. High water events, we've got to provide some off-channel storage for our irrigation, long-term lakes. We even need to look at our water treatment plants and recycle that water. We don't have to drink it, but my farmers would definitely like to irrigate with it. So there's a whole lot of things we can do to address this problem. I think this is the legislative session that we're actually going to get something done.
Yeah, you're saying we're in crisis mode, and now is the time. All right, Commissioner Miller, let's move on to, in terms of what our ag producers here on the High Plains can expect, some of the legislative priorities as we move into 2025. What do they have to look forward to?
Well, I've been working on this one 5 years, and also on that emergency list, Governor Trump put top priority to stop China from buying any more of our farmland. That's just ridiculous. We cannot allow that to go on. I've been fighting it at the state level, trying to get federal legislation. It's very frustrating. It's one of the stupidest things we allowed to happen. We allowed a former Chinese military official to buy 140,000 acres, Del Rio, next to the Laughlin Air Force Base. If you know anything about Laughlin, that's where we house our U-2 spy plane, our most top secret aircraft that we have in the Air Force. So we're just doing a lot of stupid stuff, and it needs to stop. So also, we're finally getting attention on rural health care. I've been working on that for 10 years. At the department, I house the Office of Rural Health Care, where we work with 191 counties across the state to deliver health care, recruit doctors, nurses, pharmacists, get them good supplies, ambulances, x-ray machines, sonogram machines, things like that. So maybe finally we're going to get something done in the area of healthcare. Of course, immigration is big. Water is going to be big. I'm looking forward to working with the new USDA secretary. The previous administration, I spent 40% of my time fighting them. I'm in daily contact advising them now. So it's a new day, and I've got a big grin on my face. There's a lot of hope for rural Texas and agriculture.
Miller, something that's been in the headlines lately, the word tariff, we're hearing that an awful lot. What would you say to farmers and ranchers here in the Texas Panhandle about how, if those go into effect, how that could possibly impact them positively and negatively?
Well, I don't think they have anything to worry about. Any citizen in Texas actually needs to worry about that. We worked out our agreement with Mexico. They're going to provide us 10,000 troops. They're going to stop the fentanyl coming in from China. We worked out an agreement with Canada. They're going to also help us stop the fentanyl. It's on 30-day pause. That's just kind of the guarantee that they do what they say. There's a 99.99% chance that those tariffs will not be implemented on Mexico and Canada. I am negotiating with the White House and encourage them to get, and part of that negotiation, to get Mexico to pay up on their water treaty. They still owe us 1 million acre feet. They're in arrears. Our Rio Grande Valley, our Winter Garden area is in dire need of water. We've lost our sugarcane industry. We're pushing out citrus trees. Our vegetable farmers down there usually farm 4 or 5 crops. They had enough water to grow one crop, they can't stay in business. So the negotiations need to continue.
Finally, Commissioner Miller, just one more question is before we go. In terms of the, I know we're looking at immigration and migrant workers here in the Texas Panhandle. I know obviously it's a big part of the industry here. What would you say to farmers and ranchers about the changes that could possibly come down the way from that?
Well, I wouldn't fret a whole lot over it. I wouldn't worry a whole lot over it. Right now, they're wanting to arrest criminals. If you have a criminal, illegal alien worker, you might want to worry about that because they're coming after him, I promise. And they'll get anybody else that's there illegally. But for the most part, we're not as dependent on illegal labor as we once were. We have a legal migrant visa program. It's called the H-2A program. 5 years ago, it had a cap of about 78,000. We've been able to move that up to nearly 400,000, so fivefold. We get a lot of our labor for that. And technology has come a long way in recent years. We have robotic milkers at the dairy. We have tractors that can drive themselves. We have drones that spray our fields. About the only hand labor we have left. And we have a lot of mechanical harvesters, but we still require some hand harvesting of citrus and fruits and vegetables. But again, we have a lot of legal H-2A migrant workers that can help do that. So I wouldn't be too concerned. I don't think they'll actually come after farm hands and raid your farm to pick up your help.
Okay. Commissioner Miller, one final question. I said that last one was, but this one kind of dawned on me right before we go. In terms of just the state, you have a very positive take on where agriculture is going in Texas at this point. I can see it on your face.
Yeah. Well, we're in the worst shape we've ever been. Agriculture has lost money the last 4 years. We've gone from being the breadbasket of the world and feeding ourselves and many others to having an agriculture trade deficit of $45 billion this year. We're going to buy more food than we export. That's unheard of. We cannot maintain our freedom if we're dependent on some foreign country to feed us. So that's got to turn around. And this president will turn that around. We will no longer have ag trade deficits. We're going to get that back in the plus column where it belongs.
Okay, Commissioner Miller, I'm going to give you a chance. Anything I didn't ask that you want to bring up before we bid you adieu so you can get back to work there on the ranch in Stephenville?
Well, one other thing that come up, we had, I don't know if you remember this or not, we had a bunch of mystery seeds coming in from China back in 2020. We got our last of those in October 2020. We picked up over close to 1,000 of those. They were mailed from China. We actually had that start up again down in Brazoria County in Clint, Texas. We had a shipment that had 2 bags of seeds in it. But the thing that was different about this from before, it had 1 vial of green liquid unlabeled in it. So that kind of worries me a little bit. So I sent my inspectors out. We picked that up. We took it to the USDA Plant and Animal Health Inspection Service. We're having that tested to see where we are on it. So if anybody out there gets any suspicious seeds in the mail or suspicious liquids in the mail, contact me. And you can contact me at 1-800-TEL-TDA. 1-800-TEL-TDA. Let me know. I'll send an inspector out. We'll pick it up.
Commissioner Miller, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll let you get back to business. And again, thank you for being a part of this interview.
Thank you. God bless.
For more about the continuing challenges facing our state, head over to our website, myhighplains.com. We'll close out this edition of Politics Today after this quick break. Welcome back, everyone. If you have the outstanding warrants or citations in Amarillo, you'll have the chance to get those resolved. The compliance campaign is an opportunity for individuals with outstanding warrants to come in, talk with the judge, resolve those violations. The goal of the campaign is offering residents a chance to voluntarily clear their cases before enforcement begins.
If they get stopped, they're subject to arrest. And we don't want that for them, their families. Coming in and taking care of it, taking that responsibility, helps them be able to resolve it and hopefully not get arrested, not get put in jail.
Starting March 3rd, the City of Amarillo's Marshal's Office will begin serving those warrants. One more thing before we go. Candidate filings continue for the May municipal elections for those interested in running for City Council. The deadline is February 14th. Candidate qualifications are being a U.S. citizen, at least 18 years old, a qualified and registered voter, and you can't be indebted to the city. There was an announcement from Jason Herrick this week running for mayor. You can find more on those stories at myhighplains.com.